this place is built on free speech. It's a place where anyone can come and just use their unique voice, I guess is the best way to put it. It's very democratic.
It is I, the Poptimist, and today we have Cameron McCasland. Cameron, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you talk a little bit about NECAT and what your role is?
Yeah, so NECAT, for those who aren't up to speed on it, is Nashville Education Community Arts Television. We operate 3 channels in the Nashville, Tennessee area. That's Arts Channel 9, IQTV Education Channel 10, and Nashville Public Access Channel 19. It's all part of the Nashville Public Library. We've been in the library for a little over 3 years at this point, I guess, and public access has been around in Nashville since 1978 in a couple different shapes, forms, and fashion. But we've been on the campus here at Nashville State for a little over 25 years, and the whole goal of the place is just kind of teach people how to make a television program, give them the space to do it in our studio, and then once they have made those TV shows, give them space to air on those channels. It's one of those things where, like, this place is built on free speech. It's a place where anyone can come and just use their unique voice, I guess is the best way to put it. It's very democratic in the sense that, like, anybody who takes the time to come and do the training can say just about anything they want to say as a place for free speech, and we will stand up for them and allow them to do so. A lot of times we'll get phone calls from people who don't like what people are saying on TV, and we always offer those people on the telephone the opportunity to also come down and train, put up a show as a counterpoint. And so and not to say that everything is controversial or everything is political, mind you, but there's a lot of different types of shows that we get that they're people just trying to, share the thing they do, including people like yourself.
Yeah, well, it was such a amazing thing finding NECAT and finding, Peg Studio, because just to get into a little background, the podcast had been going for a while before I came here, and I kind of hit a plateau with it and then did my first Halloween special here. And we've been off to the races ever since because you guys were just around the time that I came in also building this podcast room, this podcast studio. And Eric put it together, and it's been incredible to be here. I love being here. It is like my second home.
Yeah, this space has been here for just about a year. We kind of converted some space that we were already using, but we were able to kind of put this together. Something I had seen over the last few years is just the rise of podcasts. It's like, I feel like it's funny because I remember 20-something years ago having a conversation when I was working at a video store about like how really it was about like how anyone could record a movie like commentary. And it's like, and when the iPod was brand new, it's just like, oh, you could literally take that, go to a movie theater and play that back. And I was like, that's such a cool idea. And then like, it was right after that podcast started to, show up, and I don't know who coined that phrase. I'm sure somebody knows, but like, but once it was out there, it's just like, okay, this kind of works. But what I've seen is like that went from a very audio format, and I definitely have had things over the years that I listened to, but like I started seeing it turn into more video stuff, and you see how those guys like Joe Rogan had kind of started putting stuff together. It's just like, hey, we're gonna put the podcast out, but then we're also gonna put the full video out on YouTube. Then we're gonna clip it for TikTok and Instagram and all these other places. And whenever you start seeing how low the production is on all this stuff, I was like, we can do this. I mean, we've been doing talk shows at this place for 30 years at this point. We might as well try to build something that's more familiar to what the audiences of today are watching. And so that's how this place came to be.
Well, the other great thing is you talked a little bit about it, but the freedom to kind of make whatever you want. You guys have never given me a note or told me that my idea was bad. Like, if my idea is unrealistic, you'll give me feedback on what I can do to make my life easier. But I've never been told, like, don't have zombie strippers in your Halloween special.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, because I don't feel like it's our place or my place specifically to tell people what is good or bad. It's like, because I think there's an audience for just about everything, and I think when it comes to, it's like there's a set of ground rules that we lay out whenever people take those classes, just kind of teach you like what you can and can't say legally. But as long as you're within the realms of, legality, I think you should be able to say what you want. I mean, that's the thing about free speech is sometimes free speech is hard speech, and sometimes it's ridiculous speech, and sometimes it's outlandish speech, and sometimes it's just, it's like, I don't want to say dumb, but it's just like you can be as silly as you want to be, and you probably will find an audience for that because, I've learned that human beings are they connect through conversations, they connect through entertainment, and so no matter what it is you like, there's probably someone out there who likes something similar. And so I think it's important to like just let people go and do the things that they do. And for me, it's just a matter of like taking, it's like taking the parts of my career that I've had and say like, here's how I see you could do something to be more successful, or hey, I've seen this happen before, and these are the pitfalls. And it's like, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying like, just look out for this because it's probably coming whenever you do that.
Well, that's we've had a lot of heart to hearts because I'll come here even when I'm not filming just to hang out, drop off new episodes that I have edited, whatever. And you've given me so much great advice, but you have 25, 30 years of experience to back everything that you say. Can you talk a little bit about what you do here at NECAT and what your background is?
Yeah, so my role here is really it's just to facilitate productions and to help people plan for better shows, teach people how to plan for shows, I guess is probably the better way to put it. I also do a lot of producing myself for all of our in-house shows that we do, and that's everything from things like, Dr. Gangrene Sanitarium to Chinese New Year to Juneteenth and all these different kind of outside productions. And, of course, we've got a wonderful staff here at NECAT. You mentioned Eric Lowy earlier who, kind of helped put this together and is sitting in the booth producing this for us right now. There's a great team of people that kind of put it all together, but
the music business industrial complex in Big Hollywood doesn't fund anything it can't control. Independence is their greatest nightmare. That's why we're banned from advertising on multiple platforms. This show runs on listeners, not sponsors. If you've ever sent anything, you've already paid for future episodes. Venmo below. Bring back danger.
My main goal is to make sure that the creative side of that is, it's like we're nurturing those relationships. We're making sure that we're building those shows. A lot of times I'm writing those shows or organizing those shows, trying to get guests for all the different types of things that we put together. And then, like I say, this team of people that surround me go through and do all the nuts and bolts and technical parts of that and, help us build the sets and, mic everybody up, make sure the lights are turned on the way that they should be, and keep me on time. It's like more than anything else. So it takes a village for sure.
100%. And like, if you're a member here and you're doing shows, you also have the opportunity to volunteer on shows too.
To answer your question earlier, as far as like, kind of where I came before this is like, I have been making, film and TV now for, since the turn of the century, basically. My very first job, if you can call it that, I worked on a Don Henley music video back in Marshall, Texas.
Which one?
I could not tell you the name. It was the album was Inside Job, but I couldn't tell you the name of the song to save my life right now. And really, it's like we just showed up. We saw that they were doing stuff. We kept showing up to the set, and finally they were just like, okay, you can move these boxes, and they paid us a little something, fed us, and gave us ice cream or whatever. It's like, but it's like that was kind of the first little bit of that. And my mother had worked in television before that, so like I grew up in playhouses and things like that. But that was kind of the first feel for it. And then I spent a lot of my late teens and early 20s playing music and working in the music business and doing things like that. That's what got me to Nashville. Ultimately, I did a little bit of a run in gospel Christian music, and then turned into a little bit of rock and roll music. And then at some point, broken down in a van with a couple of guys who haven't showered in a few days, I was just like, I don't want to do this, and started making music videos and staying home in Nashville and set up shop here for the most part. This has been the better part of 20 years just making all kinds of narrative and documentary stuff. And so that kind of would take me to different, places and meet different people. And so I had a really good run, like I say, making some low-budget horror movies. I made some LGBTQ rom-coms. I made a couple documentaries just, based on a few different things, Harlem Globetrotters, John Klein, and just some really cool things over the years. And it all kind of got me to here. It was funny because the reason I started at NECAT was I had just made this movie called Jumpin' Johnny, which was about Dr. John Klein, who played for the Globetrotters back in the 60s and had a real bad drug addiction, kind of got lost in the 60s and 70s. He got clean and sober and saved a whole lot of lives up in the Detroit area. And I was working for a place called Addiction Campuses at the time. We had this great run, premiered at the Bell Court. It's like it was kind of a dream come true in that they paid for everything. It's like and I was paid
what
handsomely.
A concept.
Yeah, it's like I was paid handsomely that year to make that movie. And then at the end of the year, we were going to work on what our next project was going to be, and the bottom just kind of fell of it. They were like, oh, some government stuff had changed, so they weren't getting the kind of funding that they had been getting, and we were one of the first ones to get cut. And I had a friend that worked here at the time, and she invited me. She's like, well, could you come over and just kind of help, do some paperwork in the office and, admin kind of stuff and just get people organized. That turned into, well, could you teach a class? And again, I was just looking for gig stuff, and I'd been involved in public access over the years because I've been working with Larry Underwood and Dr. Gangrene for, going on 20 years now. But, at a certain point, she was like, oh, we've got a full-time job that we would love for you to interview for. So I went to the interview. I did well at it. They hired me, and then basically I started on the Monday full-time, and then it was the same week she announced that she was leaving, and 2 weeks later she was gone, and I kind of became the de facto executive director of this place, and everything was, just was brand new, and there was a lot of things that needed just change. I think fresh blood is always good, and it's like where the people that had come before me, it's like there had been, the guy that started this building was like a televangelist, and Trish had come from theater, before that. But it's like there hadn't been a lot of people that had really worked in film and television, and so I think I just saw some needs here that filmmakers would want to see happen, and we started to put that together. And that first year I was here, studio was doing really well. Pandemic hits, everything goes crazy. We're shuttered for 14 months, and I'm literally running the studio out of my house and trying to get camera equipment to people so they could do that, make sure shows stay on the air, literally producing TV shows from my, garage and bedroom kind of thing. And, when we got back, it was just a matter of same as everybody, we had to kind of scramble to figure out how to change some things around because the money was weird at that point. And that's whenever we came into the library. And then ultimately, I got hired to do the same job that I had been doing. So it's the funny thing is I've been here 7 years, but I've only worked for the library for 3. So it's just it's weird how that all kind of worked out.
How did your relationship start with Dr. Gangrene?
So it was, gosh, this had to be, I would guess 2002, 2003. My first wife, basically, she was up late one night, 1 o'clock in the morning, basically. And she says, Cameron, you should see the show, because he was just flipping through. So I stopped and watched his original show, Chiller Cinema, and it was just kind of wild and wacky. And the next week, I went back and watched it again. And then the next week I watched it again. It kind of became this regular viewing for me. And at a certain point, he put up a banner saying that they were going to be making an appearance at a haunted house that was up in Hendersonville. And at the time, I was working at a video store near the Rivergate Mall. And I was just like, I'm going to go over after work and just meet this guy, just kind of see what he's about. Just tell him that I like the show. And so I end up over at this place, and he puts me on camera and we talk for a little bit. And, it's I think at the time, he definitely already had a fan base, but it was for anyone to just show up to actually see him was, obviously a good boost to the ego. But I really I became friends with him, but his director at the time was a guy named Chuck Angel, and me and Chuck actually got on really well. Chuck was, he was a filmmaker, was making all kinds of stuff, and I was really trying to get from what I was doing in the music business and making music videos to more narrative kind of stuff. And so me and Chuck started working on this movie with a guy named Kenny Barrickman called Dead Last, and we spent the better part of a year making this horror movie on weekends, and it was bad. I mean, it's bad. We screened it, it's basically got 95% done. We screened it one time and never really got the finishing touches all over it, and I ended up briefly moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma for less than a year. Then I came back to Nashville, and by the time I got back, the movie was there was just no way it was going to actually make a run, nor did anyone really need to see it because it was bad. But I got a really good education in that. About that same time, Chuck had left Larry's show, and it's I would see Larry at conventions, and it's randomly, I remember one time I was watching, I think it was Hellboy at the Opry Mills Mall, and he pulls me out of line and talks to me on the show, and they had come out to my video store a few times and did remotes and things like that. But he just kind of asked me, he's like, do you want to come out one night and just kind of watch us tape a show and give some ideas, because I was making stuff on my own. And I kind of just went out just to kind of see what they were doing. And there was some stuff going on at the time that he wasn't real happy about, just in the way that his crew was all good people, but it was a little more amateur than what he was looking for. And I had some ideas about how to kind of tighten those things up. And so Afterwards, he had me write some things for him. So I was writing jokes and, wrote a couple scripts, and then basically came on to direct a show. And then once we did that, we were just kind of off to the races. And he dismissed some of the other people that had been in that place. Not for bad blood, he was just taking it in a new direction. And we just got real motivated to make it a professional experience. And so, that turned into doing a series of PSAs, which is something that he had never done before. And that, I kind of brought to him as like, hey, we can do this and get on TV in a lot of other places. And we worked with the governor's office to kind of get all that stuff together. And it really kind of just, put him in new avenues that he hadn't been through before. And, over the years, like we have just, I don't know how many different shows. I mean, that character's been on half a dozen different TV shows, but kind of same thing too, where it's like when the internet was, not brand new necessarily, but like when YouTube was coming, to age, I kind of was like, hey, we should be here. I was like, we should be doing something for this, but not just posting the shows that we make. Like we should make something specifically for this. So we did this little movie review show that they were all like 4 to 7 minutes long, and he gained a pretty good audience out of that. So it was just a matter of like, taking these little ideas and running with it. And, me and Larry have continued to stay really good friends, and like just we talk 2 or 3 times a week usually. We're always bouncing script ideas off each other and like just kind of figuring out what kind of works. And it's like whatever we got, I guess for Sanitarium, which is the show that's running now, the CW had called us on the 20-year anniversary and said, hey, do you want to come do 4 shows for Halloween, like just for the October weekends, host these movies on Saturday nights? And I was like, yeah, we should do that. So we got back together, we built some sets, and we made these 4 episodes. And at the end, Larry was just kind of like, well, he's like, it would be kind of fun if we kept doing this. And it just, at the time, I was like, listen, I don't know that I can commit to another weekly show, because the show we had done previous to that, I think we did close to 50 episodes, and it was a weekly.
Wow.
So it's just like we were on, for a year, basically, we were making a show a week, or sometimes we might tape 2, it's like so we could take a week off. But it was just constant, and there wasn't a lot of money. It's just like, as with all these low-budget things, like you're just kind of doing it for the love of it. And I was just like, I couldn't commit, it's like, and so that was about the same time that I was coming into NECAT, and I was kind of like, well, I was like, let me help you. We had built a set at his place. I had kind of streamlined everything, so it's like he could basically go in and shoot something himself. He cuts his own shows and whatnot. And so while I was still writing some jokes and still looking over scripts and still kind of lending a hand where I could, I wasn't going to be, physically present on the set every time that he shot a show. And so he did that for a while, but, it's like with me being at NECAT, we were able to kind of optimize it and put him back out in a big way in this space. And then at a certain, like, we just kind of miss each other every now and then, and we like need to get together and do something where we're both in the room. And that's kind of how the live shows started up in this space, where we tape them live in front of a studio audience, and they're live on TV at the same time. And that's a real rush for me. It's like it's because anything can happen on live television. And so we've been doing that now for, I think we're going into year 3 or 4. I really don't even know.
You do
anymore.
that quarterly, right?
Yeah, pretty much quarterly. And it's like, and
in front of a live studio audience,
right? And it's like, and it's just been a really cool experience because we're able to bring guests in. We have our NECAT volunteers that come in to kind of help crew on this stuff. So we've been able to kind of open up the experience in a big way. But it's still just me and him kind of beating each other up over who's got the better idea, who's got what's funny, what's scary, what's novel, for the moment. And again, it's like just trying to build these experiences for people that are in the room, but also that have this like, for posterity's sake, it's on tape and you can watch it over and over again. And so, I don't know. I've been really happy with how that's all turned out. And like, we've got some other things that we're brewing up. It's like we've got a big documentary we've been working on for a couple of years now. That's going to be coming out probably this year. Like we're at the tail end of all that stuff, and that's going to be good. And we keep talking, I guess, really threatening each other to make a road movie and like do a Dr. Gangrene on the road thing. It's just a matter of like, we both have to be happy with the script, and we both have to have time carved out to like decide
do
to do
a road
it.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. So because it takes, like you can't do that in a weekend. It's like it takes time to do it, and obviously, we both stay very busy with projects outside of each other, while also always trying to support each other creatively.
When did you first move to Nashville?
So funny enough, I moved here in August of 2001. I think I was 19 years old, and I drove up here with my dad in a Subaru Legacy, and everything I owned was in the backseat of my car. And when I got here, I bought, a bed. I had a roommate, basically my roommate from college. I moved up here with him and his little brother. They were in a band, had a record deal out of Seattle. And so the first year that we lived here, like, I had roommates, but basically they were gone, 5 or 6 months out of the year touring and doing things like that, making their record up in Seattle. And so I would have, people come crash at my house, like bands that were on the road or whatever it may be. And I kind of did that, but it was to put context to it, it was a month before the September 11th attacks.
Yeah.
And it was like a really weird situation in that, like, it's like you get here. What I remember about that time period was like my first job in town was working at Circuit City, which doesn't exist anymore at all.
Where was it at?
It was over in Antioch. It was Circuit City in Antioch. I was working in the video game department. And again, I had only worked there for like a month, basically. There was a guy that managed the place. His name was Avery Goss. Super nice guy. Avery had a heart attack sometime in August, right after he hired me. And so I just remember, like, September 11th was a weird day. You're just, you're in this room full of television sets. So it's like you're just watching that, all day long. But the following day, on September 12th, the district manager for that place called me into the office, and he was like, hey, he's like, we're just having trouble. He's like, you're the newest hire here, so we're going to let you go. And it was a weird situation because, like, all of a sudden I'm out of work and I don't know what's going on. But I had also had this internship at a place called Embassy Music, which was like bluegrass and gospel music and things like that. And what it allowed me to do was like really focus on that internship because I was able to I had unemployment coming in while I was looking for a better gig and just kind of would like go look for jobs. And then at the same time, just work this internship for, however many months. So that happens in September. Well, Avery ends up getting better, it's like, and he calls me sometime in late October and he says, hey, I would have fired 10 other guys before I fired you. Would you like to come back to work and I'll promote you? And, and I went and worked at stereos and things like that, which at the time was like a commission-based job. And so I went back to work for Circuit City and I did that for probably a little over a year, I guess, after that. And of course, that whole place has gone by the wayside. But that's kind of how I got to Nashville and got started. And then again, just was kind of working that internship, doing this, regular just day job the way everybody does. And then just playing music and, I managed a couple bands and like just tried to like make a go of it. And ultimately my other roommate, Taylor Muse, is in a band called Quiet Company. They were brand new and like they needed a music video and I needed a director's gig. So I basically produced their first thing and we kind of just funded it out of our own pockets. It hit MTV back when that meant something. And then also there was a film festival in Jackson, Mississippi called the Crossroads Film Festival, which is still there. And we went down for the thing. They had a music video screening, which at the time, no other film festivals kind of really had stuff like that going on. But we won an award there, and that one of the Movie Maker magazine wrote an article about me, and that kind of helped me get into some other cool rooms and things like that. And then I just kind of was able to kind of make it work. It's like, and then, it's like every job that I ever got was kind of accidental or like you think, everyone figures out how they're going to get their big break is like going to be this like tremendous thing. But like really it's been all these like friendships or something that I did for somebody or helped someone out. And then later it turned into something great for me. And so that's just been my career trajectory the entire way.
What was Nashville like when you first moved here? Because it's very different from 2026.
Yeah, it was such a cool time to be in your early 20s. You know what I mean? There was a lot of indie rock going on here. There was all these like little pizza shops and basements and house shows and like just, that was kind of like, I guess, at the time, like shoegaze and emo music was kind of like coming into its own. So there's a lot of that going on. Just not going to them because of the age that I am and my interests and whatnot. But I just remember always you would just fall into these weird places and like these, there was a nightclub that's now Domino's Pizza that's down by the world's largest adult bookstore kind of thing. It's like
right off the highway.
Right off the highway. And it's like, and I saw so many killer
What was the
shows.
name of that venue?
Gosh.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah,
I've just heard people say it.
For the life of me, I couldn't tell you the name, but it had the nastiest bathroom that I've ever seen in my life. I would never buy a pizza from that place. I'll tell you that much. It was gross. But I saw so many killer bands in that place. Bands like Paper Chase, Pedro the Lion, and just all kinds of local bands like the Features and I guess Self. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff. There was a killer scene going on in Murfreesboro, which was right down the street, and we'd pile down for that and see shows and things like that. And it was just a really cool time to be alive, and I was really heavily involved. So it's just, I think the way that most people are in their early 20s, like you're just involved in a scene and you believe in something and you want to see things happen. So, it's like all your friends are like working for it, and like we're all, like trading out, like, it's like everybody would come over and like eat pizza at our place, and then like we'd be broke the next week and we have to go to their house and do the same. And it's just like letting people sleep on couches and just trying to make a go of it. And it's like, and I remember like that first year that we were here, anytime there was like a potluck or it's like one of the like BMI or one of the record labels would do some kind of, here's some talk back and there's going to be food and snacks. Like we would go because we literally had nothing to eat. It's just like we were just like truly hungry. And it's like I think about those times now because I do pretty well for myself. It's like I've had a pretty successful career. But it's like I'd never had a better time than that first little bit of it where it's like you're just starving. Like,
and you don't have any responsibilities.
Yeah, it's just like that's exactly it. And you're just kind of going. It's just like, and I did settle down pretty quickly in the sense of like, whatever, like when my first kid came along, it's like it just changed everything about how I viewed the world. But it's like all my friends were still living some of that stuff, and I just couldn't. It's like I refused to kind of. You can't stay out all night doing all the things that you do when you're out all night. It's like it's still, be a responsible father. And so for me, it was just a matter of making a choice to go like, okay, I can live in this space creatively sometimes, and I can do some of the work. But the fun part of it, or like the irresponsible part of it, I just had to leave it alone and just go home.
So you moved here at a time when the record industry was the record industry.
Yeah.
When the music business industrial complex still existed.
Yeah.
And it was firing on all cylinders. What was that aspect of Nashville like back then?
It was funny because, like, whenever, like, I remember that the last record I could remember buying before I left Texas to come here was Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American. And one of the first records I remember buying when I got here at Tower Records downtown was The Strokes' This Is It. I don't know what the dates of those came out, but like that was a thing. And like the thing about Tower Records at the time was everybody was down there on Monday night to get their records came out on Tuesday at the time, and like you would see everybody. I mean, everybody from all the record labels were there, all the artists were there that were young and up and coming. Anybody was there to kind of do it, and there was kind of like this cool thing happening where like you would all talk about like what you're listening to and what you liked and like what you were excited about, and again I remember records like Dirty Vegas came out, Andrew WK came out, like there was just all these different acts that were like just kind of new. And I remember like when Andrew WK's This Is like first album came out, I remember like people seeing that cover. Of course, he's got the bloody face and everything else, and they thought it was one thing. And then you heard it, and it was like this party anthem kind of music, and it was just a totally different thing. And I remember just breaking people's brains. And then like when it came to, I want to say that same year, like Bobby Bear Jr. had put out an album that was, kind of really doing something here in Nashville. It's like the local stuff that was like, what was the Rock Block? Always had shows going on down in that space. So like we were always at the end, and we were at the exit end, and like again, every show, it's like you were there not only just to see the show, but you were there to see everybody else and kind of see how it kind of all came together. It's like, and there was all kinds of other, venues that, like Blue Sky Court, which isn't here anymore, and then the Sutler, and oh gosh, I don't even remember all the, places that, 328 Performance Hall. I saw a lot of great shows at that place, and it's just like that's all gone now. And again, it's like, and I'm certain that they're still doing stuff, but it's like it's kind of different. And then on the for the big bands, like you had like out in Antioch at the
Starwood?
The Starwood, yeah. It's just like I remember seeing like I went and saw David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar did a tour together out there, and then I remember going to see I think it's Aerosmith and Stone Temple Pilots, and it's like, and again, like you just go out there and you see people and you meet people and you do all these things, and like and all that's gone now. It's like, and in Nashville right now it's still cool. Like it's still there's greatest city in the world to go to a concert because you never know who's going to show up and like play with somebody else. And it's like, and that's a really cool experience that you don't get anywhere else. But at the same time, it's like there is something that has been lost, but I don't know if that's really something Nashville did or if that's just my youth. You know what I mean? Like it's just
totally.
So
it's like Christmas when you're a kid is so magical, and then when you're an adult, it's an entirely different thing. It's just another month. It's the year is ending. I have to figure out the rest of my tasks that I have to complete for the year.
It morphs. I mean, that's the thing. I think specifically when it comes for Christmas, it was like it means something to you when you're a kid. The middle's weird. When I became a father, it changes into because you become Santa Claus of sorts, and you're making the magic again, and that's fun. But then as your kids get older, it's like, oh, they're going through the same thing, and I'm certain that it'll probably come again later if they decide to have kids and I have grandchildren. But it's like, but I think when it comes to the music business, it's like in Nashville, it's like I have seen that because there was a place probably been closed down for about 10 years called Charlie Bob's, and Charlie Bob's was like a hamburger pancake place. And it's
hamburger pancake.
Yeah. So you get it was open 24 hours a day. And if you were there in the morning, you got pancakes. If you're there in the evening, you got hamburgers. And it was killer, fairly affordable. And I was working at a place called Villain Place at the time, and we would just, no matter what time of day or night, we would go over there and eat pancakes or hamburgers. And it's like they would always have live music, and it would be like the weirdest, most esoteric, like weirdo bluegrass bands, or kind of just like charming, just like singer-songwriter kind of stuff going on. But it was just like a weirdo place. And I don't know where those places are anymore. It's like I think there's places that they want to be that, but people don't show up in that same way. I remember back then there would always be poetry reads and things going on like that. I'm sure that's happening somewhere in town right now, but I'm not invited to those things anymore, so I don't see them. But it's just it's, and I think that's probably true of every great city becomes a version of itself. If you ever go to San Francisco and you go to the Haight-Ashbury and it's still San Francisco. It's cool, but what it meant to the hippies 50, 60 years ago is not the same things what the tech bros are doing today. But both of those are valid. You know what I mean? It's the
different experience.
Exactly.
It's a different lens of reality.
It's like space and place is the same, but it's like the driving forces changes. And I think that's true of Nashville. But I still get that whenever I can go to a show at the Ryman. It's just and I feel something when I'm in there because there's just so much history of, it's every great act that's ever been there. It's all your old country acts to all your great modern
Wu-Tang Clan did a show there.
Exactly, and it's just and it's just the idea okay, well, Johnny Cash kicked out the headlights here. It's just and that's cool. It's String Bean got murdered driving back from this place, and it's weird if you just sit there and feel all the ghosts in the room. I guess it's but the thing is, it'll probably be there another 100 years, and I'm sure for the next 100 years there's going to be all these other great acts that are playing right now for the first time that people will be talking about experiencing 20 years from now, and that's that happens over and over and over again, and I think that's what's cool about a town like this is it's all renewable.
I moved to Nashville in 2015. So I was 23 when I moved here, and it's a strange experience now to kind of continue what you were talking about a little bit, where I'm not the youngest guy in the room anymore.
Right.
And even if I go to the spots that I know are the cool hip spots now, I'm usually the oldest person in the room.
Right. Yeah, you're in the back of the room. You're not in the pit anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not to say I still don't have fun going out and experiencing it, but it's different now. And I've even noticed the quality of, and this is not about the quality of people, but overall, I feel like the kinds of people that are attracted to Nashville, there's of course your musicians, creatives, people from the rest of the Southeast that are I'm gonna go to the big city and I'm gonna do something with my life. But now I feel like what's changed is there are a lot more people that are transient, that are planning on just living in Nashville for a year or two in their 20s, and they want that party lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're attracted to Broadway. Broadway is the main attractor of why they moved here, which I know Broadway at one point was a very dangerous and seedy place.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got here, Broadway most of it was dead. I mean, it was kind of the ghost. I remember the NASCAR cafe had been here, but it was gone, and it was just every couple of you would have something open and then 2 or 3 of those honky tonks that were just empty, and they were trying to get it cleaned up. I think there had been some porno shops down there. There had been some just just this and that. But when the hockey team got here, I guess that's late 90s, and I think they started to try to renew everything. And it's like when you go down there now, and I don't make a point to go down there. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I went down to. If I'm not working, I don't go to Broadway at night. Like I just don't.
That's
do it.
most locals.
Yeah, but it is like it's jam packed. Like I don't know any other than the bombing down on 2nd Avenue. I don't know anything that's closed down there. It's like they keep it open, and even the stuff that has closed, or like some of the country,
2nd Avenue's reopened now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like even the country music honky tonks that like. It's like they'll basically come up with a new name. It's like it'll close one week and be open the next with something brand new. So it's like it doesn't go dark for long, and that's a pretty cool thing. And as far as like transients, I mean, I think there's always been a version of that. Like I definitely knew people back in my early 20s who came here from Austin or Los Angeles or Chicago or New York. It's like, and they wanted to get the Nashville experience because if we're being honest, the best songwriters and musicians in the world live in this town.
I agree.
They just do.
We're biased.
For sure we're biased, but I've seen it. It's like I've seen people so talented that never get their fair shake. That's like it's like if you think about every little small town across America has got one or two or three people like me or you who show up and go like, okay, I'm going to make my trade in this space, and you all start trading ideas and going on ideas. Some people last longer than others, and some people just look, it's like I think like myself, it's like I kind of always figured I would end up back in Texas, and then I didn't. It's just like, and now Nashville feels very much. It's been my home for a very long time now. It's like my children were born here, they've grown up here. It's like I can't imagine leaving because the city's been very good to me. But at the same time, it's like I know people who they came here for a year or two or three, and like they picked up some tricks and they learned how to do this or that, and like. They went home with a couple killer stories about some wild thing that happened, and they're working in their local office job, or maybe even still playing music somewhere else. But like they need to have said that they had been here. So it's just like it's always been there. But I do get your point. Like it's just like the city is growing all the time.
It's more so. I guess what I meant is that something like that is amplified now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like so many people are wanting to come here. And they want to see the city. What the craziest thing is to me is talking to tourists from the UK.
Yeah.
And I've asked multiple times, I'm like, well, why are you coming to visit Nashville?
Yeah.
Like, not that I don't think it's an amazing city, and I'm glad they're able to experience it, but you wouldn't think like someone that grows up in the UK would have any interest in Nashville. And what they've told me every single time is, we're really big country music fans in the UK, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, I think Fanfare CMA Fest. I think that did a really good job of like getting that info out to Europe. So I couldn't tell you. I'm no expert on it, but it's like I think that some of those radio stations over there were playing some of those records. I think that like I really couldn't even tell you of anyone that toured because like you don't hear about like. Guys like Luke Bryan or,
I think that's happening now.
Maybe. But they don't, I've never seen like, oh, we're doing a European tour. It's like, 'cause it's so expensive to do that anyways.
Well, I feel like really I remember seeing like Chris Stapleton, him doing it, but he makes sense because he's such a like wide crossover.
Yeah.
Because it's like a rock band with country roots, and the singer is a soul singer. You know, like he has the voice of a soul singer. But it's so funny to me to hear people talk about it because I've asked them like, who do you guys like? Who do you listen to? Because I'm just so curious about it. And they're like, oh, we really love Luke Combs. And I was like, Luke Combs?
Yeah.
Like, and it's nothing personal against Luke Combs. He has some good songs. But on the country spectrum, I love Chris Stapleton, of course, Sturgill Simpson, Tyler Childers, Margot Price, artists like that. Yeah, Isbell. Yeah. They're like the continuation of what Nashville has always been.
Yeah, for sure.
But the funny thing also about it is looking at it now, you see like any part of town you go in, you're going to see like a mural of Johnny Cash or Merle Haggard or anyone like that. And they weren't well liked. In their heyday. They were liked by the fans, but the Nashville industry did not like them.
Yeah,
and now if you talk to any of those Nashville industry people, they're like, oh, yeah, Johnny Cash, he's the best. Oh, yeah. And it's funny to me the way that Nashville responds to things.
Yeah, there's such a reverence now for like Waylon and Willie and all those guys. It's like people forget like Waylon and Willie pulled up stakes and went back to Texas because they were not welcome in this space. You know, it's just like, and so it is funny how, you know, time paints a picture. You know what I mean? It's like, but I think that's still going on because I think all those guys you mentioned, like Sturgill, you know, it's like an Isbell and, you know, Tyler Childers, they're not getting a ton of love on Music Row. Like they're not getting radio airplay from country radio. It's like, but I think the way that like listening to music has become so democratic through places like Spotify, and God bless, they need to pay their artists better. But it's like, but you find things in a different way. You know, it's like people listen to music on YouTube and like whatever it may be. I think that's opened it up in a big way. And, you know, it's like, and I think the thing about country music at its best has been true since the beginning of time, where it's just like, it's just honest. You know, it's like you're bleeding onto a record and you're letting people know how you feel about things. And like, and I think there is still some of that going on in the same way that, like, you know, I doubt anyone way back in the day was looking at Gene Autry records and going like, well, this is, you know, this is heartfelt. Like, no shade on Gene Autry because those records are killer in their own right. But it's just like that wasn't the same thing as what Hank Williams was doing. You know, it's just like, and so I think it's two sides of a coin. Again, it's like, and I don't know as far as like how it got into Europe. I know that Americana, music which Americana music is just country music. That's all it is. They just put a new name on it. But that stuff, and, you know, it's like, I think is so built out of country music and folk music. And I know that has infiltrated Europe in a big way. And so it's just like, it opens up a lot of doors for people to do really cool stuff.
Well, country music, a lot of the country music, its roots are, of course, from like Appalachian music, which its roots are from Celtic music.
Right. That's the thing. Is like, it's such a, I think every path that you take down the history of country music it's just stories of people living their lives and loving and feeling and drinking and, you know, doing all the things, having heartache. It's just like, and the pains of life. And again, it's like, I think if you could tap into that and really, again, how do you tell the truth and bleed on a record? It's like, and the people that can do that, you know, like they're going to find an audience, but like it may not be, you know, it's like, I think if you ask the average Broadway, you know, fan who's come here to see country music, they're not going to know like Colter Wall. You know what I mean? It's like they're like, but it's like, but if you find someone that loves them, they love them forever.
That's it's like East Nashville now,
for sure.
Is where a lot of that stuff is welcome. That new place opened up, Skinny Dennis. Have you heard about Skinny
absolutely.
Dennis? And that's a real popular spot. There's D's Country Cocktail Lounge in Madison.
Yep.
Which Amy D is supposed to be coming on the show soon. She's the owner. I'm very excited for that. But it's like you have to cut in Roberts. That's another example.
Always killer.
Yeah. You have to dig a little bit, I think, now for the real. If you want the real Nashville, you have to try and find it.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like there's stuff that's been here that's like institutions that, you know, it's like stuff like the Wild Horse Saloon, which like meant something a long time ago. Where it's just like, well, now it's like it's a different thing.
That's Luke Combs' bar. Now.
Exactly. It's just like, but the heart of it's still there. It's the same room. You know what I mean? It's just like, we put a different sign on the door. And so I don't know. I mean, like, again, I know there's all these like little bars and places that people are doing stuff, and magic is happening in those places. I'm just not going out to them as often as I do because, you know, I tuck in at 9:00 these days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's changed a lot. I mean, even in the time that I've been here, because I moved here post-flood. I feel like the flood was looking at, like, Nashville's growth, because that happened in 2010.
Yep.
My Aunt Janie and Uncle Steve, you know, have always lived in Nashville. So I remember my dad calling my Aunt Janie when we were up in Maine and being like, hey, is everything okay? I see what's going on TV. But it seemed like a lot of the town was flooded, you know, just a lot of stuff got ruined, shut down.
Yeah. The flood was so frustrating because it felt like nobody saw us for a couple of days. That's the like I at the time I was working at a record store. I had a house over in Antioch, kind of near like Harding, you know, where the Sam's Club is, kind of over in that area. And I remember like I couldn't get to work the first day of the flood, and I remember calling the guy at the other place, kind of like, hey, I can't get there. Like, there's literally all the roads in are flooded. And the first people that died, drown in the basically like where the exit ramp is there at Old Hickory. It's like they drove down in the thing and it just washed them away and drowned them. And that was like right down the street from where I was. And I just remember watching it on the news, and at a certain point, like again being the documentary filmmaker I am, I got out with my camera and I started just getting out and just seeing the destruction and like talking to people and putting it. At the time, we were uploading it on YouTube. I had news stations that were reaching out to me like, "Hey, can we use this footage?" And I was just trying to like share it because they couldn't get into the neighborhoods. It's like, I mean, we were literally stuck, in between all where the rivers and the creeks and everything had kind of come up. But that was a major turning point because it was just like, but I remember like talking to, because I have so many friends that live outside of this space, and like, they were calling, like they had heard something, they're calling, checking, they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" Because like we're hearing whispers, but we're not seeing it. And what I remember at the time feeling was like how everyone had talked about Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans, how they felt like no one saw them for a couple of days. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like I totally get it, because like it was like 2 or 3 days after it happened before the national news, like CNN, starts really telling stories about it. And there were so many people that got hurt and lost their businesses and just
died.
It just died. Yeah, it's just changed. It's like just total changeover of kind of what had been here before. And it was, we were fortunate in that our home was spared. Like we weren't in the floodplain, but there were so many of our neighbors that lost everything. And I don't know. It's like that's wild to think that that's been 16 years ago, because it feels like it was just
that was the year I graduated high school.
Yeah. I mean, I think my kids were so young at the time, but I mean, like it was just like that was such a weird couple of days.
Yeah. I think it's 100% what triggered Nashville's rebirth, because a lot of corporate conglomerates were able to come in, buy up property for super cheap, and it's turned into what it is today. Like it's so funny to me that Nashville was like Bachelorette Central.
Yeah,
because like I remember visiting when I was a kid, and we went down to Broadway, and I have a vivid memory of the NASCAR cafe.
Yep.
Going in there and seeing the stock cars hanging from the ceiling, and being down on Broadway and seeing there was a merry-go-round down at the end of it. And that was kind of what my memory was as a kid, so I didn't even relate it to music necessarily.
Yeah, I've heard that the merry-go-round is coming back. I know the Tennessee State Museum has had it like in storage for a time, and I know they've done some restoration work on it, but I hear it may be returning soon, but I don't know exactly where it's going to land.
Interesting.
Yeah. You should definitely cover that.
It'll be a Poptimist on the ground coverage, boots on the ground coverage. That would definitely be a full circle moment. So talk to me a little bit about the process of coming to NECAT and like what the classes are, and what someone has to do, like how much they have to pay, all of that good stuff.
Sure. So the basic getting started is a Production 1 class. That happens every month. Usually it's the first Saturday of the month, unless there's a holiday or something happening that first weekend that would make it move. But it happens every month, usually that first Saturday. People come in and they get a real one-on-one version of everything that we do here. So they're going to work in front of the camera. They're going to work behind the camera. They're going to run audio boards. They're going to do all the different parts and pieces of the studio, and kind of, it's like you're not going to walk out of here knowing everything, but you're going to have a different kind of appreciation for every part of that job. Eric teaches that class, it's like it kind of walks everybody through all of that. Anyone that finishes that class and wants to kind of keep moving forward, they sign up for a Production 2 class, which I teach. And what that class does is we teach you how to plan for a show, how to do everything on paper, basically. We're just like, hey, we're going to get our call sheet together. We're going to get our scripts together. We're going to put our storyboards together. We're really going to iron out what the show is on paper in a way that like doesn't cost very much, because like it's cheaper to make it on paper than it is to actually get in the room and do it. And once they have completed those 2 classes, they can start taping shows, booking the studio, putting things together and getting something on television. The cost for that is it's basically you pay $50 each class. It's $100, and you pay that annually. And really that is only there for people to have skin in the game, where we've kind of learned that like if we take a little bit of money, people will show up for it. But if we did it for free, they may or may not show. And you need everybody to be here to work together to kind of make it go. In addition to that, though, if people want to get some more education, we offer a class on green screen and lighting. We offer a audio, basically how to record audio more advanced than what you do in the basic classes. And then we teach people how to do editing through Adobe Premiere in this space. All of those classes happen quarterly. So you get, each one of those 1 month is one class, next month is the other, next month is the other, and they repeat. So you have basically 4 times a year you're able to catch any of those. Anyone that has taken the class can take them again if they want to and get a different, kind of thing going. But we also book people one-on-one if they want to come in and get some editing time in. Say the same room that we're in, there's some editing computers on the wall that you can't see. And it's people book this space whenever we're not doing this kind of thing. And they just put things together, and our staff takes the time to sit down with them and show them how to do it. Our goal is not really to make their shows for them. We want to teach them how to make it.
Teach a man how to fish.
Exactly. And that's what we're going for. We check out equipment to the public for, it's as beautiful as this state-of-the-art studio is, we want people here using it. What we kind of learned is we keep that studio booked 98% of the time. Same thing with this podcast studio. It's booked, frequently. So we have some other equipment that you can take out into the world. So if you want to go do a man on the street video down in front of the hockey arena, on Broadway, you can go down and do stuff like that. If you want to go to your house and make a short film, if you want to go do A, B, or C, we give you opportunity to do that. Once you make it, you bring it back to us and we put it on television. So we do all that. We keep the cost very low. Like I say, it's $100 per year annually that you pay, to keep your membership. But there are the ability to get free time is also there. We work with nonprofits to put people through at no cost. And then for anyone that volunteers on our in-house NECAT shows, they get a free month every time that they volunteer for a day. Or if they end up referring someone to come take a class, they put their name down, they get a free month for that. So we've got several members that they paid one time and now they just
shout out Nate Hoffman.
Yeah, Nate Hoffman for sure. Yeah, it's they just keep feeding us people, and and we just make sure to take care of them and make sure that they can do stuff. So if you volunteer on a show a month, you will never have to pay for your dues ever again.
What advice would you give to someone who is interested in maybe doing a show here, but they're kind of on the fence?
I tell people all the time, I think you just have to be willing and able to be bad at it for a second. It's just I think people have this fear of they want to be perfect. They want to make something that's good. And the truth of the matter is, no one is really watching all the time. This allows you to just kind of get out there and try something. I'm a big fan of the idea of the first thing that you make won't be the best thing you make unless it's the only thing that you make, because it's you just get better. But the thing I know about my career, which is long, at this point, and I make stuff all the time. So it's just I don't get so hung up on the things that don't go exactly how I want them to go, because every once in a while you'll catch lightning in a bottle and you'll make something great. But there's other weeks where it's just it's just another one of, it's competent, it's good, so we teach people how to make something that works, but it may not be the hit that you're looking for every single time. But there is something about the idea of doing it over and over and over and over again that you're not as precious about it. You know what I mean? It's just
Totally.
it's just another piece of work that you did. But again, it's you just don't know sometimes you're making something special until after you've made it. And that's been true for me my entire life, because stuff that I thought was going to be a day turned into this huge part of my career, and stuff that you think I've really made it this time. I'm working with this person or doing this thing or got paid this amount of money, and then nothing came of it. It's just and so I think the big thing is just getting in and starting, working on stuff, and again, being, don't be afraid to suck is the best thing I could tell someone. It's just do it and keep doing it until you feel like you can do it all the time.
Consistency, I feel is the biggest factor, and it's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Treating it like a marathon.
For sure. And again, and just the, I don't know, it's just that fear. I don't have it. I've never been embarrassed of being silly. You know what I mean? So it's just I can get out there and do something that's a little goofy with no worry that no one's going to hold that against me down the road. You know what I mean? It's just but I think people just have this fear of coming off as not professional or not good, or this is bad, or this is this or that. And it's and for the most part, it's weird because people are definitely watching. There's 93,000 people, that have this channel in their thing. They're watching television, but it's not it's not like everyone is expecting you to be great all the time. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves. Don't mishear me. We should always strive to be great. I think that's important. But I also think it's okay to be like, well, that didn't go exactly how I thought it was going to go, but what did I learn from it?
Don't let it paralyze you.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that was something that I had to come around to, where now, I don't really care for the most part. Like, I'm willing to be bad at something.
Yeah.
It was even coming here to do the first Halloween special. I never ran a production before in my life. And it was that first Halloween special. It had nothing really to do with the rest of the podcast other than music was being played on it.
Right.
Because, I was in the makeup and the suit and all of that. And I look back on that now, and I've since watched it since I first did it, and there's like 90,000 things that I would change.
Sure.
But I knew that going into the second one. Even with the second one, I look at that, and I can, like, what I'm trying to say is, to give credence to what you're saying, as time goes on, you get better at doing something repeatedly. Even doing these episodes in here, it's changed. Like NECAT, you, Eric, Sam, Julie, and now Austin. I always look forward to seeing you guys every time I come in here. This place has made a world of difference for me. Because I was off and running before I got here, but like when I got here, it was like I was getting shot out of a rocket.
Yeah.
Because I was finally in an environment that encouraged me, and I didn't feel like I was alone doing it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what people need sometimes, is just the encouragement and the spark, because it's like it's a weird thing, because like you can do something and know yourself and know the thing that you have made, and then just kind of go like, I've done it so much, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And it's like it doesn't feel right. But then you get a shot of adrenaline by having other people kind of say, well, you could try this, or you could do this, or you could, go with whatever. It's like, and it's still got to be you. Like, you got to be the one making the decisions for what your show is. But I think a lot of times, like, if you give yourself room to grow, you will grow. And, it's like, and the cool thing about this place is you can stay as long as you want. It's like, we've had people that have been making shows here for 20 years. I've had people that show up and, like, it's just like a flash in the pan. They come in and do something creative, and then they're out, and I never see them again. And it's okay either way that goes. So we want to like hold space for people to be able to create and just, I don't want to say have fun necessarily, because it's not even about having fun, but it's just more the idea of like every human being has something inside of them that needs to get out, and some people are good at figuring out a way to do that, and other people suffer because they can't figure out how to express themselves. This offers a place for you to express yourself.
Well, the thing is, for me too, I feel like making stuff, I'm able to let whatever dark, fucked up ideas I have come out when I'm making stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I don't have that outlet, then I'm left to my own devices, which is not good, But I want to tell you that the thing I think that's so special about this place is, yes, it's a super nice studio. The equipment's great, but it's the people is what makes it so special. It's
100%.
You and Eric, and you guys really set the tone, because it was like I was saying earlier, like I'll come here just on days when I don't have anything going on, and I'm just like, what's up?
Yeah.
I volunteer on shows. I worked on Dr. Gangrene's show. Super fun. The comedy show with Animanus.
Yeah, Animanus is great.
I've worked that a couple of times, and it just gives me the experience of getting better at what it is that I do. And it's also just fun to come through and see everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're exactly right, because, again, it's like, I think you could make something killer with the phone in your pocket and a boombox. It's like you could literally do that. It would be great. But what this allows you to do is it does give you access to equipment. It gives you the opportunity to try things on that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. But it really is all about the dedication of the person that is showing up and putting the time in. And also, it does require our staff to be motivated to want to be helpful. And say, and I'm confident in all of, I feel like everyone that works here, I feel I could confidently say I think they're my friend. And it's like, we have conversations about that, because, it's like, we're all human beings. We're not all having the best day every day, but we're able to kind of talk through that and support each other. Whenever things don't go exactly right, and be able to go like, okay, what's the best solution to make sure everyone is getting a good experience from this space and from us as human beings. And like, and again, it's like, I feel good about everything that NECAT provides with that. And I hope that grows as we move into the future.
Where can people find NECAT? How can they find you? How can they sign up for classes and start filming shows here?
Yeah, best place on the web is necatnetwork.org. There you can sign up classes. You can see what's on TV. You can find out all the different going on that's in that place. If you're on social media, we're on Facebook and Instagram, Blue Sky and Twitter, or X, I guess as they're calling it now. We're in all those places. Easy enough to find by just searching NECAT Network. I'm on the internet. I'm not hard to find if you want to find me. It's just Cameron McCasland. Just Google me, as they say, and I'll pop up at all places where people pop up on the internet.
Cameron, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to do the show here. It's made a world of difference.
Yeah, we're happy to have you always, Taylor.
Keep on dreaming. See you real soon.